Well, welcome to the Resident Town Hall meeting. My name is Susan Rose. I'm Community Outreach Manager, and we are so thrilled that you took time out of your evening to come and spend it here to learn more about what's going on in the city of Irving. We've got a jam-packed agenda for you this evening. First up, we are going to have a video. We've achieved significant results over the last year, well, actually over the last several years, but last year was no different, and we've got a results video. Then we're going to have our city manager, Tommy Gonzalez, come and give us a budget overview, and from there we will have Chris Hooper, our Housing and Human Services Director. He's going to talk to us about public safety and code enforcement. And if you're not aware, code enforcement is actually under the Public Police Department, and that is a great initiative, and I think they've gotten great results over the last few years. And after Chris Hooper speaks, we'll have Paul Gooch, our Community Services Director. He will talk to us about economic development and capital improvement projects. There have been some great things happening all over Irving, and he's going to cover what we've achieved this last year. And then Bradley Perrier, our Strategic Services Director, will talk to us about corridor enhancements and communication. Again, we've got a jam-packed agenda. We'll get started in just a minute. But one of the new initiatives that we've got going on this evening, and you may not even be aware of it, we are doing a call out. This is also a telephone town hall meeting. We know that y'all are busy, that it's hard to get people here. If you've got a little one, you're trying to get from point A to point B after you get off work and get them to soccer practice, and we know it's hard to stay involved in local government. So we want to make sure that we're doing our part in reaching out to all of our residents. So we will be initiating a call that's going to go out to about 26,000 residents. I'm hoping they all stay on the phone that time. Chances are they may not, but that's what we're hoping for. And then towards the end of the meeting, we're going to take questions, and we will be taking questions from the audience. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started with the video. And again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to attend tonight's town hall meeting.
The city of Irving is facing economic challenges. However, due to cost savings and efficiencies, the elimination of 111 positions and holding 135 positions vacant, the city is not only continuing to provide exceptional customer service, but adding facilities residents have requested and voted for.
You look around, other cities are closing libraries. We're building libraries, not only libraries, but state-of-the-art libraries.
How does the city do this? By following a strategic plan developed based on city council and resident input. This is also what guides the city budget. Residents have requested even more information, so a special web page has been created that allows you to ask the budget guy any questions regarding financial matters. This philosophy has been recognized by the Texas Comptroller with a Financial Transparency Award very few cities have received. As a resident, you are asking us to do more, and we are listening. Based on these factors, the city has a strong focus on safety.
For the last 4 years, crime has been at a record low and it continues to drop.
Code enforcement.
What we're looking for mostly life, health, or safety issues. That's what we focus on.
And quality of life. Residents enjoy many free and low-cost services, such as a variety of recreation programs, a dog park, and the West Irving and Cimarron Family Aquatic Centers.
It's great. It's the best thing Irving needed.
These are all examples of bond improvements residents have requested. Other cities are closing down pools, but the city of Irving is giving residents more updated aquatics facilities that are universally accessible and cost-effective. And when it comes to satisfaction, the proof is in the pudding.
They had 3 pools, and we were receiving about 9,700 people through the turnstiles. We create this aquatic center, and we have almost 100,000 people go through the turnstiles. Now, in any one of your businesses, if you're able to reduce your costs and increase your users by tenfold, I think you would say that's a success.
The same can be said for the new spray parks. They're not only free, they offer a safe way to beat the summer heat.
We love it. The kids are having a good time. You know, they built the structures for the bigger kids all the way down to little toddlers and babies.
Along with voter-approved new facilities and programs, the city is improving the community through street improvements along Irving Boulevard. And businesses are partnering with the city to add new landscaping and improve their exteriors, and new retail is coming to the area. The DART Orange Line will reach the Convention Center by 2012 and will reach Terminal A of DFW International Airport in 2014. Along State Highway 183, More than 50 demolitions are making way for the TxDOT expansion as well as new development, and construction on sound walls is well underway. Thanks to the Greater Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce's partnership with the city, new retail continues to spread across the city. Irving is now home to 6 Fortune 500 companies and 4 Blue Ribbon small businesses.
We are recognized as having the most Blue Ribbon winners by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, recognizing small businesses right here in Irving more than any other city in the entire country.
Businesses make up over 70% of the city's tax base, helping keep taxes low for residents. In fact, Irving has the second lowest tax rate among similar-sized full-service North Texas cities. Even with the second lowest water and sewer rates among Dallas Water Utilities members, the city has been able to make much-needed repairs. When storms swept through Irving in May, leaving damage in their wake, city employees responded immediately.
The city showed up and with chainsaws and this great all started cutting everything up to clear all the streets. I noticed they did it all up and down the street. They did a great job. Yeah, they came out and responded real well. Matter of fact, here sooner than I thought.
During winter storms, when no other city was offering sanitation pickup, Irving found a way to continue to provide these services even in extreme conditions.
We know areas of town that are particularly dangerous. And so in lieu of driving garbage trucks into those areas, we've gone out in supervisor pickup trucks and picked those areas up.
The new Irving Convention Center at Las Colinas is drawing major events and big crowds. Genghis Khan, the exhibition, conquered the Irving Arts Center, and the new state-of-the-art West Irving Library is setting attendance records.
It's just amazing, and compared to the place we were in before, it's not even comparable.
The city has also been meeting with neighborhoods and listening to their requests to make major changes to parks, including adding shelters and making them universally accessible. Even with millions of dollars in requirements for state and federal unfunded mandates, thanks to good planning, the city of Irving is setting the standard for strong performance. Irving recently became the first city ever to be presented with the prestigious Texas Award for Performance Excellence, an award that recognizes organizations for leadership, customer service, process management, performance excellence, and results.
Well, the Texas Award for Performance Excellence is an opportunity to validate a lot of the things that we've had working here with the city.
To further enhance two-way communication, the city now offers a Know the Facts webpage for residents to submit city-related questions. Plus, social media sites like Facebook and YouTube allow residents to post comments.
All the time people ask me, how do you gauge the effectiveness of the social media tools like Facebook and Twitter? And I tell them that all you have to do is log on. You'll see the number of subscribers we have. That number continues to grow.
Employees have one mission, and that is to provide you with exceptional services. And the city will continue to focus on what's most important to taxpayers, having safe and beautiful neighborhoods, doing everything possible to maintain a vibrant economy, and providing residents with exceptional recreational, cultural, and educational opportunities.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Kathy Whiteman has a very pleasant voice, doesn't she? Very soothing, gets you in the mood to hear more good news. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is our balanced budget. The primary thing in the budget process was that the council wanted to make sure that we kept our service levels at the same levels that they had been in the past. And over the last 4 or 5 years, our service levels have actually increased to double digits. And we've been able to do that while decreasing staff at the same time. We've been decreasing a lot of administrative positions in order to get more positions out there in the field, get more funding to the people that need the funding, and also to ensure that the equipment that's necessary, that we are able to get that in the people's hands that actually get the work done. I know that we've been able to hold on to a lot of vacancies and we've eliminated a lot of positions, and I'll talk about that as well. But it's important to mention how we have also placed dollars in the hands of the people who are actually getting the work done for you. I know that some of our departments that rate very high, like the sanitation department, I know a lot of people really enjoy the twice-a-week pickup, and so those services are things that we're going to continue to do, and those things cost money in order to continue to fund them the way we have funded them in the past. We have focused on primarily what's important to the resident. I think through our methodologies like Lean Six Sigma, what that really focuses on is what's important to the user, the voice of the customer is what's stated. That's the phraseology used in Lean Six Sigma. And that not only pertains to the resident out there, but also pertains to the departments that service other departments. And I think that's important to mention because that's really helped us in eliminating a lot of waste, eliminating a lot of activities that are unnecessary. And a good example that I can share with you is if it takes us 40 steps to provide a service to the public, we look at those 40 steps and determine which ones of those steps can be taken out. So if you go and you're doing 40 steps and now it only takes you 28 steps to do it, well, you've saved 12 steps. And if you do that across the departments, it really helps you save money. So we're really more focused on doing more of the right things. You hear that we're doing more with less, and you hear us say that, you hear some departments say that, and I think really we're doing more of the right things, because when you eliminate some of those steps that are unnecessary or not important maybe to the resident, then you really focus on the right things. And I think that's a testament to those increases in the service levels. It really speaks to that, because it really tells us that we are focused on the things that are most important to the public. By restructuring our organization, we've done a lot of that. By restructuring, we've been able to save dollars, but we also think it's improved communication. When you don't have a layer in between the directors or in between the directors and the people, the supervisors out there with the manager levels and things of that nature, that really improves communication. I know we've been told, and we've gotten some feedback, that maybe we've reduced too many positions in administrative positions area, but I think that you have to ask yourself, do you want to increase revenues by looking at property taxes, or do you want to decrease our costs? And we've been decreasing our costs because our revenues have gone down, so we've really challenged ourselves to be able to do that. And we did that before the economy got to the stage it's in today. 4 or 5 years ago, when a position became available and became vacant, we held on to it. And a lot of department heads didn't like that, and it wasn't something that was necessarily popular. But I think it's really served us well, and it's placed us in a good position to weather the storm in the economy. We've also been able to group departments together, and by grouping departments together, you've heard us talk about police and codes being grouped together. We've also put animal services with police, and also community development block grant dollars, that department, with police as well. And I think that's really helped communication with those departments, and it's really given the police department the resources that are needed. I think in some other cities, just to the east of us, they look at adding just more officers to solve a problem. Sometimes it's not the most important thing or the smartest thing to throw more money at something. Maybe it's to throw more resources, more people of dollars that you're already spending, and maybe collaborate and coalesce those together so you can get a better result. And we think it's gotten us the results that we see today, and that our residents tell us that they're seeing. We do surveys every year to get that feedback from our residents. We also do surveys at the departmental level on the services that are provided directly to the citizen, to get feedback from them, to ensure that we're actually listening to what they want and not what is convenient for us necessarily. And what we remind ourselves of constantly is that we are here to serve the public. We're public servants, and in that regard, listening to them through surveys, point of service surveys is what we call them. For example, in the library, if you go to a library and you use it, you're using the library, so then we're getting direct feedback from those people that are using it, as opposed to random surveys that may or may not include someone who's actually been to a library, and they might just comment based on what they hear, as opposed to actually using the service. So we think that's very, very important. Holding on to vacancies is something you probably heard in the budget process. We've eliminated over 110 positions, not over, we've eliminated 110 positions, and we're holding on to 125 vacancies. And you might ask yourself, well, why don't you eliminate those 125 positions as well? We're looking at that. We're looking at how many of those need to be permanently eliminated and how many of those need to be held vacant until the economy gets better, because we want to make sure we haven't cut too deep. We want to make sure we're complying with state and federal regulations that are mandatory. They're unfunded mandates, we like to call them, because they place a mandate on you, they don't fund it, and they expect us to go in and still fund the position, so it impacts you, the resident, directly, and the state and the federal government say, well, we haven't raised taxes. Well, they actually have, because they place a requirement on us that we have to abide by, and you actually have to pay for it. So we have found ways to eliminate costs and to be able to provide the services while also paying attention to the state and federal guidelines. I think a good example that occurred in the budget process was that we did not fund the school facilities that were going to be open for basketball playing and having that available. And then we've got some feedback from the public that they wanted those open. The numbers had decreased, and so we felt like we could push those children over to our facilities where we have reinvested a lot of dollars, like Lively, Rec Center, and other facilities where we placed a lot of dollars, capital improvement dollars, to improve those facilities, We were pushing those children and those programs over to those facilities where we have placed a lot of dollars towards. And the public said they wanted those open. So what we did is we're going to hold a director position vacant and use another director and probably fill that vacancy. And it unfortunately happened because of a death to one of our directors, but we're going to hold that vacancy. So whenever people want more things, it costs money. And that's a great example of how somebody wants more while we're pushing it towards our facilities where we're placing a lot of dollars towards, and it makes sense from a business standpoint, but people really don't want us to operate as a business. They say they do, but then they want still these things. So they have to be funded. So we're funding it by holding on to that vacancy. The other thing that we're doing in the budget process is we're shifting more of the healthcare cost toward our employees. We're still picking up a lion's share. We're really placing more of the burden on our staff, and we're also providing an incentive to them as well. You may have heard of the iWin program. We provide an opportunity for them to pass a physical test. They take 6 categories that they have to pass or score a certain level in, and they have the ability to earn extra dollars so that can help them in terms of an incentive and dollars in their pocket, at the same time help the city. We've been able to save over $1 million a year in our general fund, or in our city funds rather, with that program. We've also lost as an organization 2,200 pounds. So when we have a program that helps the employee, helps the organization, and everybody wins, it's a great program that really incentivizes our folks and really speaks to how we're addressing some of the healthcare concerns, healthcare costs that are rising across not only our organization, but across the state and across the nation. When you hear us talk about reducing some of the standard things like supplies and maintenance and things of that nature, well, what that usually does is it drives our maintenance costs up. So if we are not replacing equipment, our maintenance costs are going to go up. So there is a direct impact when you don't replace equipment. A lot of folks wonder, well, why is your maintenance cost going up? Well, if we're not replacing equipment and deferring that replacement, well, that equipment is older, so there's going to be more maintenance required for those types of pieces of equipment in order to keep them going. So there is a cost and there is a direct impact whenever you don't replace these pieces of equipment. A lot of people wonder, where does the money go? And this is where the money comes from, and I'll show you a slide of where the money goes. The money primarily comes from property taxes and sales tax. You do have some franchise fees that are collected, and then some minor revenue streams like transfers from other funds and fees and other charges that are user fees. But the primary drivers are property taxes and sales tax. And I'll speak later to how that's impacted us in terms of the revenues coming in as the economy has impacted the city of Irving. The money that we receive, the majority of it goes to public safety, parks, and public works. About 2/3 of our budget goes towards that. So those are probably the things that people feel like are most important, is your public safety, police and fire, your public works, which are your streets, and also parks and recreation. A lot of people really use those programs. We have a lot of programs that we offer for free or at a very low cost. And if you pay for daycare after school and you're a single parent, or if you're not a single parent and you're just not on a, you're on a fixed income, it is difficult to raise children if you don't have programs out there that help you raise those children. And we have some very low cost programs in our rec facilities. And the feedback we've gotten from the community, those things are very important to them. As you can see, some of the other things, libraries, municipal court, planning, inspections, and the other areas make up the rest of the areas the dollars go towards. Administration is 7%, and computers, information technology is 7%. Now, I wanted to show this slide because a lot of people really focus on the municipality, and this breaks out exactly where the money that you're charged for your taxes, where you're actually charged, where it comes from. The Dallas County is 4 cents, the college is 4 cents, the county is 9, Parkland Hospital is 10, City of Irving is 22 cents, and Irving ISD or your ISD is 55 cents. So that really kind of speaks to where your dollar goes on your per $100 evaluation. The property tax revenue decline and the sales tax decline. The property taxes over the last 3 or 4 years have gone down significantly. We were at $18 billion with a B, and we're at $16.5 billion. So about $2 billion in valuation, where that just arbitrarily or artificially went down because of the economy. And that primarily went down in our commercial area. When we talk about property taxes received, 72% of the taxes collected on the property tax side is from the commercial area, and 28% is from the residential. So yes, we have a lot of businesses here, and they pay the lion's share of the taxes. And whenever the valuation goes down, that really impacts the revenues that are received. The sales tax is at an all-time high at $50 million in 07-08. Now it's at 46.6 million. So you may have read in the paper or seen in the blogs where sales tax is up 2 million, but that's from 44 million. So yeah, we might be up, but we were at 50 million, and it's gone down significantly since then. And so it's a battle when you look at the budget in a macro level, and you look at how much dollars are received and how the costs continue to go up, and the costs don't ever stay the same, so the revenues and how you receive revenues is very important. So a combination of user fees and reducing our costs and adjusting revenues is important in order to balance your budget. We think that this recession will continue for another 2 or 3 years. And having said that, I think it's important that we continue to look at ways to be more efficient, look at ways where we can operate more like a business. And we really need the community's help with that to support a lot of the programs where we're shifting our costs towards areas that make more sense, and where we've placed more dollars into our newer facilities and we're pushing programs towards those facilities. It makes more sense because it drives our numbers up. So I think it's more efficient and it's a better use of those funds. We will continue to look at vacancies, and I think when we have those vacancies and when we can group departments together where it makes sense to become more efficient, we're going to do that. I think that we are open to the feedback that we've been getting, and I think that, again, we need your help there, because when we're cutting costs, I think that should be a good thing. And I think when we're getting more efficient, that should be a good thing. I know that we're used to and accustomed to receiving the services in the manner they've been received before, but as the swimming pool example, or libraries, there's another good example, how you can reshape how you provide a service and actually increase the numbers. So you reshape how you provide a service and you increase the numbers and the type of programs that you have. I think that's a better situation not only for the resident but also for the organization that's providing that, because you're able to do it in a more cost-effective fashion. I think we will continue to look at how we balance our budget in future years. We have these town hall meetings in order to get feedback from the public to ensure that we're on the right track. We do listen. We do listen also to our council. Our strategic plan is based on the feedback we receive from you. It's based on the feedback we receive from council. And so we make adjustments on that on an annual basis. The council meets annually to discuss the strategic plan and makes adjustments towards that. We then look at how we provide the service and have key performance indicators to ensure that the results are where they need to be and the objectives are being achieved. So we've become more of a focus-based or results-based organization and focus more on the performance indicators and not just activities. So I think the methodologies we have in place, like Lean Six Sigma, really focus on that, really focus on the extraneous activities being taken out of our processes and ensuring that the results and the focus of where the residents want the services to be on is exactly what we're focused on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Hooper, and he's going to talk more about public safety and other programs that we have. Thank you.
I'm pleased to have the opportunity to provide the update on our public safety departments. We're going to start with our police department, and I'm very pleased to report that crime has been down for another 11% this year. And this is 4 years in a row that crime has been down in our community, or is a record in our community. It's been down for a total of 7 years, and from all indicators, I believe that we are headed toward another record low toward the end of 2011. So very good numbers to report there for our police department. With regard to our crime, the apartment crime reduction ordinance that was implemented several years ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, was specifically targeted toward some of the areas that we had problems. And as you can see, the number reflected on the slide there shows that there's been a 47% reduction in crime based on the implementation of this ordinance. So we feel very pleased that the ordinance that's being enforced is working and helping to provide a safer community for Irving. The police department initiated several years ago a problem-solving team that began their initial focus on the Tudor Lane area. And Tudor Lane was known as a very, very bad area in our community for a long time. And the problem-solving team focused on it, reduced crime, and had some outstanding results in that particular area. But the area that we want to talk about this evening is the Walnut Hill Lane corridor, which is at Walnut Hill and Beltline. And the problem-solving team has been working in that area over the past year and a little bit beyond that. And you can see that there's been a 74% reduction in crime. So a very significant effort there. The police department is not finished. They do have another area that they'll be focusing on this coming fiscal year, and that will be the Southeast Irving area. So we look forward to successful results in that area as well. Moving on, we want to talk a little bit about our first offender program. This is the first of its kind in Dallas County, and again has yielded successful results for our police department. You can see that of those offenders that have participated in the program, there's been an 80% success rate. So this is a program that's targeted toward youngsters that make mistakes, do things wrong, and commit that offense. And 80% of those that have gone through the program have not gone the wrong direction and committed another offense. So we feel very happy that we're making inroads with some of our young people in the community. The next bullet point also addresses an initiative that's been in Irving for several years that focuses on the mentor relationship between our young folks as well as our police department. This past fiscal year, we had over 500 participants in our police athletic league, and feel very happy that the young folks are being able to interact with our police department and learn responsibility, accountability, and the things that they need to do in order to lead a successful and productive life. Our ICOPs, volunteers in our community, we're very appreciative of the work that they do, and you can see the numbers reflected there that they have added 3,000 hours to the operations of the police department. So again, you couldn't achieve the success that we've had with the crime rate without our volunteers in the ICOP program. And then the last point that I'll mention with regard to the police department is the crimereports.com website that came online this past fiscal year. This is an opportunity for residents to receive neighborhood alerts, updates on criminal activity in their area. So a very useful tool in helping to keep our residents informed. With regard to the next department in public safety, we want to talk a little bit about fire services and the men and women that provide those critical services to the community. If you look at the first bullet point there, you'll see that our fire department over the past 5 years has improved the response time by over 13%. We think that's a successful result over the last 5 years. They've also increased the number of fire inspections by 24% over the last 5 years. And then there's been a 35% decrease in property loss due to fires in the last 5 years. Looking at the bottom of the slide there, you'll see that the replacement of rescue tools has also been instrumental in helping the fire department achieve these results. 100% of the tools that are used in rescue efforts have been replaced. The jaws of life, which are critical equipment and pieces of apparatus that help save lives, have been replaced. And then the 0 fire fatalities for the first time in 5 years. So again, impressive results to be reported by our fire services team. Moving on to emergency medical services, if you live in Irving, this is a good number to report out to you. The cardiac survival rate is double the national average. So if you are going to need those services, this is a great community to engage our fire department. Also, looking at the second bullet there, there's been a 32% increase in the number of paramedics in our fire department personnel. So again, that enhances the safety, enhances our response capability to our emergency services. The last two bullets there I'll mention is the 100% replacement of our ambulances as well as our cardiac defibrillators. So those are the tools that our men and women in the fire department need to provide the excellent response time and critical care that you need should you require those services. So good results for fire and police. Let's move on into code enforcement, talk about some of the efforts there. I know a lot of people have heard that code enforcement has done a great job in terms of our resident survey and the response that has been received back, that we've improved our customer service, and we're pleased about that. But one thing that we want to focus on is the fact that we've increased officer productivity over the past several years by over 30%. And our officers are working hard. They're working a number of cases, and they're focusing on getting results and getting people to comply with the codes and ordinances. We've also reduced our case resolution time by 14%. And then the third bullet point there, we've removed over 12,000 illegal temporary signs in the community. We all know that's a nuisance, and it's something that we're not proud of, but our code enforcement men and women are out there trying to remove them as quickly as possible, and we do receive a number of calls, and we want to be responsive and get those out of the corridors and in the appropriate places. The last bullet point there talks about the fact that we've decreased multifamily complaints by 38% over the last 4 years. Multifamily complaints to code enforcement is basically a health and safety issue. We want to make sure that the folks that choose to live in multifamily units have a safe and healthy place for them to take care of their families. So the complaints have been reduced significantly over the last 4 years. We're also pleased to report that over this past fiscal year, the Code Enforcement Department has established the Code Cadet Program. This is where volunteers in the community come in and help our code officers, the team of folks that work in codes, to help hold people accountable and help make sure that we achieve the results that we need to. So the Code Cadet Program was established this past fiscal year. And then the next bullet point talks about substandard structures and structures that are safety concerns, structures that are causing decay and neighborhood blight. There have been 78 of those demolished over the last 4 years. So again, we're targeting those, and we want to get them down as quickly as possible to maintain the values of our neighborhoods. The last bullet point I'll mention is the increased participation of our folks that work in our Keep Irving Beautiful program. You know, we do a lot of things to enforce, but we also want to do things that help us sustain and make Irving the community that you all expect it to be. So our increase in the number of volunteer hours by our KIB folks has increased by 15% over this past year. So with that, completes the public safety portion, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'll turn it over to Mr. Paul Gooch now.
Thank you, Chris. Again, thank all of you for being here tonight. I would like to also thank 3 council members who have come tonight: Councilman Mike Galloway, Councilman Rick Stouffer, and Councilman Gerald Ferris. Thank you all for coming tonight. Very quickly on economic development, this is a key catalyst for any successful community. Economic development not only improves your quality of life, but helps our tax base and therefore helps you maintain the low tax rate that your staff tries to achieve for you. A couple quick points on current economic development issues. Heritage Crossing, everyone is familiar with that. That is a designated area in South Irving where we are revitalizing our downtown heritage district. We did hire the McDougall Company. City staff is working very closely with them, and we also intend to bring in some new developers. Some results are 85 properties have been acquired, a lot of land has been cleared, a lot of antiquated apartment complexes have been cleared. But really what I want to mention tonight is we have a new vision, a new land use plan that has been reviewed by the City Council as well as the Heritage Crossing Communication Committee that was built on community input. And I think it's a giant leap forward, quite honestly, for this community. We now have identified right uses for these parcels of land. And I think we will be in much better position to attract new developers to this project. Additionally, we did create a TIF 2. We do have a TIF for the Urban Center. This is for South Irving. It will generate approximately $68 million of revenues over several years that will go to public improvement projects for Heritage Crossing. You're all familiar, you're sitting here tonight, with the convention center. Very successful, highly acclaimed facility. It's had a very successful first 6 months, generating lots of bookings, lots of over $1 million in revenues, and more importantly, or as importantly, the booking of hotel room nights, which aids our economy. In addition to the convention center, I would like to let you know that there are several initiatives being discussed, considered, designed right now by new developers. Staff is involved with them to further build out the urban center. That's very, very important. The Dart Orange line opens December of next year. It's very critical that we take advantage of that transportation mode with new mixed-use housing development. Let me back up. When I say development, it would include housing, office, medical, entertainment, and retail. Okay, so very mixed use, very inviting for all age groups. Again, a strong generator of tax revenues for the city. Capital improvement projects. The video showed a lot of these, so I'm going to go pretty quick. We're very, very proud of the new West Irving Library. That's a state-of-the-art 25,000 plus square feet facility. It not only brings that neighborhood traditional collections, but a strong emphasis is being placed on new libraries in relation to new audio, video, software, computer usage, to where particularly our kids are using these materials for their needs. We actually, as adults, are beginning to learn from our kids, quite honestly. It's our children coming from the schools and saying, this is what we're learning, now you need to follow us and learn from us. The aquatic spray parks were mentioned, very minor investment. The great news is it generated higher attendance than our older, antiquated neighborhood pools. That's a huge sea change as far as what you're investing for the gain on your investment. We did mention the 3 neighborhood parks being renovated along with camping on trails, and I'm pleased to announce we're currently designing the new South Irving Library that will be an anchor for the Heritage Crossing District. It will be over 50,000 square feet and also a mix of traditional collections as well as new technologies. We're very proud also, and you're all very aware through your budgets, your household budgets, that we as a city are very committed to replacing our water and wastewater systems. Quite honestly, this system in a lot of locations is 50 years old. And some of you may be experiencing problems at your own homes, you know, with water pressure or red water. So we have made a very strong initiative within our capital improvement engineering department to design many, many projects. You can see 30 currently right now, $23 million, and that trend will continue. It's very, very critical that we meet our water demands in the future. Additionally, we are, along with our water projects, are including street projects. We no longer go in and replace a water main and then 2 years come back, tear up the street to replace the street. Kind of silly, isn't it? Kind of costly, isn't it? We now group our projects together and look at them from a 360-degree approach. We do the water, the sewer system, the street, as well as the landscaping that could be involved. And that certainly mitigates the interference with your daily traffic. In addition to neighborhood and city projects, we do have some major tech stop projects, being 183, that is currently focused around right-of-way acquisition, which you can easily see. And sound walls are currently being built around the Story Road area and the Wingren area. In addition, you see a lot of work on 114 around the Texas Stadium site. And then also we're providing new access to this facility off of 114. And then I have already mentioned this, but I do want to drive home. Not only are we investing in major thoroughfares being our state highways and our major arterials, but neighborhood streets are very, very important. Those streets that connect neighborhoods to neighborhoods that will decrease traffic congestion and improve the quality of neighborhoods and improve that corridor aesthetic. Those are very important. 3 examples: O'Connor is being bid out, or actually has been bid out, and will go to council in November for award. Northgate is also a major connector between neighborhoods and being renovated, and Hunter Farrell is currently under design, and that is a joint project between the county, the city, and the city of Grand Prairie. So the good news about that is you're only paying a third of that cost. Okay, I'm pleased to introduce Bradley Perrier.
Let's hurry. We got 5 slides left. We'll go through these very quickly. The corridor enhancements that you see up here, the redevelopment of State Highway 183 corridor is controlled through an overlay district, which regulates the landscaping, signage, and building setbacks. 29 way signs were purchased and installed right before the Super Bowl in Arlington. They direct people, the visitors to the city, to city points of interest. Businesses along State Highway 183 are going to be required to underground their utilities as a part of their redevelopment. And staff picked up 470 tons of litter, 470 tons, 940,000 pounds. And I talked to Brenda Haney, the director of Solid Waste Services today. That is an analogy that's equivalent to if all the 45,000 single-family homes in the city decided to throw their trash out one day. That's what that's equivalent to. That's a lot of trash. Next slide. 2 gateway and landscape improvements along East and West Irving Boulevard. Projects funded through TxDOT grant, and it's to help keep Irving beautiful. Solar lights were installed with a grant. They are providing $100,000 a year in energy saving. Brock Bank cul-de-sac is part of the O'Connor widening project, 183 north to Rochelle Road, and the MacArthur Screen fence project is funded through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and it also encourages, we are using the undergrounding of the power utilities and the telecommunications utilities to not only improve reliability but also enhance the corridor. Northgate Drive project also improves access to the University of Dallas, Highland Schools, and then the headquarters of the National Chem Search Corporation. We've had great success so far in multiple notifications through the iAlert program. We've had a 90% increase in the number of subscribers to Facebook and a 35% increase in the number of subscribers through Twitter in the past year. I hope you've all used the interactive calendar on the website. It's a great way for you to stay connected with the activities in the city. We've also posted 270 ICTN produced videos to YouTube. Final slide. We had our first interactive budget retreat where 20 people were able to input questions to the budget retreat during that session. The Speakers Bureau continues to meet with service organizations and neighborhood groups, and they reached out to 4,200 residents this past year. We've conducted quarterly neighborhood roundtables with over 200 neighborhood association officers. And you can go online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime you want to the city's website, and you can provide input that way. And finally, just like Tommy had said, we do an annual survey, but we also do point of service surveys at your points of location where you get services. And I'll be followed by Susan Rose.
We had called out, we got like almost 6,000 residents to pick up via telephone. I think that's pretty good results for the first night. Yes, I'm excited. Now, I'm not going to get into telling you how many are still left on the line, but we are happy that they're on the line. So we want to go ahead and take a question from the caller, and I'm going to throw it over to one of the telephone participants. Kurt, can you hear me?
You bet I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Do you have the first caller for us?
We do. Sarah, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting we're having tonight. Sarah, you're up with your question, please.
Yes, my question is concerning funding for crime prevention and not only prevention, but to deal with the crime that is in the Irving Mall area. I've been a resident next door to the mall for 22 years. I used to consider the mall a good neighbor. I used to feel safe living next to the mall. I can tell you that crime has not decreased in the Irving Mall area. The bridge behind our house, we are constantly having to call the police department from people smoking dope under the bridge, selling drugs under the bridge. There is constant foot traffic behind our houses because of the city easement, and I don't feel safe in my neighborhood.
We've got Police Chief Larry Boyd here that's going to respond to the question, Sarah's question.
Very good question. And just to let you know, for the Irving Mall, we have an officer who is assigned to that location. That is their job. And that particular officer can vary their hours. Now, a lot of what the Irving Mall officer does is coordinate with the Irving merchants inside the mall. And from what the caller was describing, she's describing issues that are outside the mall. We focus on working with the mall. They employ security as well. As with any business around town, we want to make sure that the business is doing their part so that residents aren't necessarily paying for things that someone else should be accommodating. And so we try to work with them to ensure that they know where these issues are. We have actually surveyed malls and looked at how we compare to malls around the Metroplex. What are the city commitments? What are the commitments that the malls make, and to ensure that we accommodate what's going on in Irving and have the best practices that we can have in place. The Irving Mall has our officers started something that's actually a region-wide effort now. It's a listserv so that when people are identified who are participating in crime activity and things in our mall, we can put them on that listserv, and so other malls can be aware of that, and that has grown in the region, so others do that as well, so that there's this level of communication. There's also the mall, just like any other part of Irving, is inside a beat. We have a beat configuration. Every part of Irving is covered by that beat, and it's those officers' responsibilities to ensure that they're addressing issues. Hopefully we've collected this caller's information, and I will get more specific information from her so we can ensure that we address that specific issue. And there are frequently times, I know, that especially during the holidays when we're trying to keep car burglaries down, believe it or not, car burglars go where cars are, and the mall is one of those places. And so during those times, we have extra effort to ensure that we're addressing the issues around that particular parking lot in that area. And so I'd like to have some personal interaction, and I'll get that information, and we'll make sure that we follow up with her.
Thank you, Chief. We've got another caller on the line, and we will start taking questions here from the audience in just a moment. The next caller, Kurt, do you have the person there?
I do. Kim, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Go ahead with your question, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'd like to applaud your efforts in your infrastructure, all the work that Irving has done for the infrastructure of this city. I think it's fantastic. My question is really more on activities for our strategic planning, as was discussed by one of the gentlemen on your panel, and strategic planning concerning our retail, our restaurants, our groceries for the future. You were talking about the decrease in revenues. I take my business outside of this city because we do not have enough retail, business, and groceries to satisfy a lot of the needs in that we require here. I keep watching businesses close, favorite ones and I have to go to other cities. So my heart and my dollars, unfortunately, for taxes go to other cities. So my question is, what are your strategic plans to bring businesses back here? Have you contracted with anybody to match retail, restaurants, and grocers to our city? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We work very closely with our Chamber of Commerce, and they have completed a study called the Buxton Study, which matches up our demographics with various corporations to relocate to Irving. Now, earlier on you heard me mention basically the urban center. You have North Irving, far North Irving, you have South Irving, and we have either staff or the chamber very specific land use types and corporate relocations identified, hopefully to meet your needs. And believe me, the grocery store is probably the one we hear the most, and that's the one we recruit the heaviest. Thanks.
All right, let's take another caller that's been on hold for just a moment.
Aubrey, welcome to our telephone town hall.
I was wondering if you're moving forward with any plans to improve or eradicate some of the areas where high water is a problem in neighborhoods, between houses and various areas of Irving.
Yes, ma'am. We do have an MDU fund that is set up. It's collected through the water bill, and that fund does address drainage in neighborhood areas as well as other parts of the city. We are working with the various flood control districts to make sure that as the water drains through Irving, it is actually clean and dredged and the channels are open. This year's budget does include about $300,000 to do miscellaneous drainage, and in fact, we've started on a few neighborhood drainage projects that are in various parts of the city. So if you have a drainage problem that's specific, I would encourage you to call down to the engineering CIP department and let us know what problem you may be having. We can put it on a list and investigate it and see what we can do.
Thank you, Casey. Y'all, is this not cool? I just think this is a cool feature that we've got. Misty, do we have another question? Kurt, do we have another caller on the line?
JC, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. JC, you're up next. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I'm at retirement center here in Irving on Bryan Street, and I'm 103, 93, or 92, and I'm just wondering if there's any way that I could enter the good talk show I've had, and I can't do anything. I can't walk, and I can ride. I've got to come around, and I ride net, but I can't get out and do what I want to. And y'all made me want to get out and do something, but I can't. I can't even walk. And I'd appreciate somebody if they would give me a talk later on in the talk show here. Amen.
Art, can you get his contact information, and I will give him a call tomorrow and see what we can do to provide assistance to him? Could you do that possibly?
Done.
Thank you. Do we have any questions here from the actual live audience? And I want to be careful how I say that. Thank you, sir.
Follow up the mention of designing a South Library. I wanted to know, one, what will then become of the existing Central Library? Mm-hmm. And secondly, what will then be the configurations of libraries in Irving serving the different areas? So that is my question for you.
Thank you, Ms. Lippert.
As far as the design for the South Irving Library, it will be, right now it's targeted to be about 50,000 square feet. We anticipate that project going out to bid sometime in the spring. As it goes forward, we will start planning on the old or the Central Library building, which will be converted. Right now, the plans are to convert it into a museum. Also, archives will stay there, as well as genealogy will possibly stay there. We're talking about where that could go and what it could look like. We are also currently investigating keeping the central business for the book delivery and shipping of books that come in and out for the branches. That will remain there also. The ultimate configuration for the library system will be 4 standalone libraries, north, south, east, and west. With the completion of South Library, we will still have one somewhere in east part of town we'll have to do, and that will complete the 4 branches. The ultimate goal is to try to have a library, a full-service library, within 3 miles of every resident of the city of Irving. So that's the goal of the master plan.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
also reside in the Heritage District, and we are very interested to see this, take place. I'd like to know what the time frame is. Is it going to be 10 years, 15 years before we really see a change? I appreciate seeing all the older buildings down, but we've been waiting a long time over here. I've lived here almost 30 years, and I certainly hope to see something done before I pass on. And I would really like to know, we need a time frame on it. Grocery store and shopping. I'm also spending my money out of the city. Thank you.
Now, Ms. Harper, I know you, I've known you for a long time. So as well as I know you, it sounds like I got about 40 years to complete this, right? Actually, we addressed that same question with Mayor and Council at our last meeting, and we're developing a 12-month action plan that identifies quick wins, high priorities that we can achieve now. And each project is broken out into public or public-private. So they'll run concurrently. And then we're also developing a 5-year action plan that goes into more detail, identifies more projects, identifies more sites. There is a much stronger emphasis on the partnership between city staff and the chamber now on recruiting new businesses. We have meetings set up tomorrow with potential retail developers coming into that district. So we know for various reasons it's been 4 years. We've heard again the voice of our citizens. We're wanting it to move as quick as you are. There's a much faster pace, a much higher urgency in achieving that, funding that, and making it come to reality. Now, I will tell you this, it's a large area. In reality, you're probably looking at 10 to 15 years for build out.
Go ahead, Eloise.
Okay, my name is Eloise McMillan, and I am a Vietnam and a post-Vietnam era veteran. I am retired. And I was down at the Veterans Memorial, and there's a mistake on the post-Vietnam era Veterans Memorial. It said that this soldier was deployed to Fort Bragg, South Carolina. And Fort Bragg is in North Carolina for sure. And I was wondering if we're going to correct that, because I didn't know that everybody in the city knew it was a mistake on there. And when we have visitors, they're not going to know we know it's a mistake. We're going to look kind of, not so hot.
We tried very diligently to scrub all that language, and unfortunately, if you've been down there, there's a lot of panels and a lot of plaques. So I'll see what we can do. Certainly, we'll go down and look at it. I'm not sure we can fix it. It is etched in granite, but we'll certainly look at it and see what can be done. But I apologize. I think there's maybe one other error that's been pointed out. So Mr. Gonzalez often says we're not perfect, but we strive for excellence. We'll see what we can do to get it fixed.
We're going to do everything we possibly can to fix that error, okay? I'm going to make you a 99.5% promise that error will be corrected, okay?
Let's take a call from one of our telephone participants.
Fermina, you are next. Welcome to our telephone town hall. What's your question, please?
My question is that I wanted to find out if they were going to go ahead and put a sound wall behind my property. I have been a property owner for over 42 years, paying my taxes, and this business person that's got 2 lots besides me with a house that needs to be torn down, he's going to get a sound wall, and he has there that long, and I've been here over 42 years. And I brought it to the mayor's attention, and she handed it to Mr. Janway. And then the city engineer came over and looked at it, but they never did call me back to give me an answer. So that's my question. Am I getting a sound wall or not? We're almost 70, and the sound from the freeway is just about made me deaf.
Do we have your address, ma'am?
Be able
We will get it for you tomorrow.
If you can get that, I'll be more than happy to talk with you and go over the plans. But currently, the sound walls should be adjacent to all the residential properties in both Nichols as well as Plymouth Park subdivision. There is one section of the wall that is not being placed off of Green Oaks, and that's because there's a drainage channel there. And the reason that that wall is not being placed at this point in time is because the drainage channel is going to have to be reworked as part of the 183 project. That's the only place I'm aware that there's not a placement of the wall to be, but I'd be more than interested to look at your situation.
We've got another question from one of our telephone participants.
Mary, welcome to our telephone town hall we're having tonight. Mary, go ahead with your question, please.
Thank you. I'm wondering on my street why so many single-family homes have 14 to 16 cars parked on the street and in the driveways. And another thing is roosters. How many are allowed per household? My neighbor I know has six of them that wake me up at all hours of the night. And the next question is shopping on Beltline, the grocery stores, there's beggars continuously coming over as I get out of the car or get into the car. I reported to the manager, but by the time I get to the manager, that person has disappeared.
Okay, well, this is Larry Boyd. I'm the police chief for the person that's asking the question. On the overcrowding issue in the neighborhoods, you can call and report those if you suspect that that's what's going on. Our ordinance allows 2 persons per bedroom plus 1. So if you had a 3-bedroom home, then 7 people by ordinance are allowed to live there. Now, I will go ahead and tell you that is a challenging investigation because it's always difficult to tell who's living there, who's visiting there, who they've asked to come over, who's, you see how that would go. But we can investigate that. And so if you have an issue related to overcrowding, you can call and report that. We do have currently our community development subcommittee for the city council is reviewing a lot of neighborhood protection ordinances and opportunities that we can look at for parking issues and paving issues within front yards and some of the kinds of challenges that I'm sure that the caller has recognized, looking at ways that we can address those things without infringing on what would be normally productive behavior in a neighborhood. Because you can imagine every time you try to fix something, you wind up causing another problem somewhere if you're not very careful about that. And so that's what the council is looking at right now. Currently, for poultry, there is no limit. So that's, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder as to whether that's a problem or not, but there's not currently a limit on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Boyd. We've got time for about 2 more questions. Let's take one from the audience if we need to, and then let's go ahead and take the last telephone participant, please. Kurt?
Patty, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Patty, go ahead with your question if you would.
What I would like to know is what kind of businesses have been planned for the Hunter-Farrell extension?
Dan, would you be able to address that for us? Dan Vedrell, our Transportation Director.
Dan Vedrell, Transportation Director. The Hunter-Farrell project right now, there are no planned businesses or retails along that corridor. The purpose for this improvement is to improve not just the road, but also the drainage situation that exists on the south side of town. It is a collaborative project between Dallas County, Grand Prairie, and the city of Irving.
Great. Thank you so much. We have any questions here? Mr. Mapes? I think Mara's got the microphone for us.
Thank you. Yes, this question is for our city manager. Since he was talking about some budget issues earlier in the evening, and also at the last work session, he had a little blurb that was thrown into the mix of that discussion, talking about Heritage Crossing and talking about the Comerica loan that exists for the McDougal properties. The contingent liability of that loan for the city and the possibility that we're going to have to pick up and pay interest on that loan. And I wish you'd give us a little update on some of those activities, if you would, please, sir.
We mentioned that we have placed a high urgency on the revitalization of Heritage Crossing, and that certainly does include the pay down of the existing Comerica loan. We have several options. Staff is analyzing all of those right now. It is our desire to reach a conclusion, what that option would best be, present that to Comerica. And when I say present to Comerica, some of those options are the consideration of paying the loan off and moving forward with other developers and helping new developers come into town. We certainly have the option to renegotiate that loan. I will tell you that's not one of our higher interests as far as prolonging that indebtedness. It is our preference to pay the loan off and, as I said, move forward. So with that, if Tommy would like to go into a little bit more detail.
When you look at the costs associated with the interest payments as it relates to that particular project, you look at how much it costs to pay interest versus servicing a debt on the $26 million that's owed. And if we take over the loan, the question I've asked staff and what I pose to the council is it would make more sense to me to go ahead and take over the loan and pay a little bit more, but actually pay principal and interest. And then you could really start developing the property quicker. Because I think over the last 4 or 5 years, what you basically have had happen is you've expedited the land banking situation. And I think Irving was doing land banking for a long time. It was just going at a very slow pace. So by engaging the McDougall companies, we did expedite that. We did have some results that you've already talked about as an audience, about some of the buildings are on the ground. We've had some success with the crime rate. We're not perfect, as you've heard some of the callers, that we haven't eradicated the crime, and we're not ever going to eradicate crime or take out every single building someone has a problem with. I think it makes more sense to maybe take on the principal and the interest, and I think it's more cost effective, and I think it also would open it up for more developers as well. We would then have the criteria as it's stipulated in the plan, in the Heritage Crossing plan, in terms of what the criteria is for the land development. Everyone signs up for that, and everybody would be eligible for that. If they signed up for those Heritage Crossing guidelines and we knew that they were going to develop and build to those guidelines, it would open it up more to more people, and it would also be more transparent to people that they have been talking about that. We have been listening, and making those adjustments, I think, makes sense. So that's what I talked about at the last work session, I think, that you were referring to, Mr. Mapes.
Thank you, Tommy. And I want to remind everybody, cityofirving.org, go on our website. That is a great way to stay involved. It's another way that we're transparent as an organization. You can go on there and you can watch those work sessions. I like to tell neighborhood associations when I talk to them, you know, you might get up at midnight, you can't really sleep, you want to see something, go ahead and log on, ICTN On Demand, and watch that work session. If you don't want to watch the entire work session, you can go to the specific item that you care about. And I just think that's a great way that we are getting more information out into the community. I want to thank you for your time this evening. And again, cityofirving.org, y'all have a great evening. Thank you.